Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Baba Kizo again. So it's day 7 today. Introduction to exploitation. This is going to be a little bit different from the other videos because I'm just going to read through the blog. Because exploitation is not just something I'm going to show you in 5 minutes. It doesn't just work like that. We read through this and just get over with the 10 days challenge and actually deep dive into ethical hacking and not just reading. So let's take this as it comes. Thank you again for being here today. Let's get in. Introduction. Welcome to day 7 of our 10-day cybersecurity challenge. Today, we will dive into exploitation, one of the most exciting critical phases of ethical hacking. This is where the hacking actually begins, exploiting the vulnerabilities you found. Exploitation involves taking advantages of the vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access or control over a target system. Understanding this phase is crucial for identifying security weaknesses and implementing effective defenses. So, our job as a penetration tester or an ethical hacker is to find the vulnerabilities and exploit it. Most of the time, not exploit it, but we should be able to prove that you can exploit it. So, how do we prove we can exploit it? By actually exploiting it, but not stealing the people's data or whatever you find. That's what exploitation is, and I can't just show you that in 2 minutes. It's not possible. It's not feasible. It's not real. If I show you an exploitation in 2 minutes, so we are just going to read through this. So, understanding exploitation. Exploitation is the process of leveraging vulnerabilities in software, system, or network to execute malicious code, gain access, or escalate privileges. Ethical hackers use exploitation techniques to test the security of systems and help organizations patch vulnerabilities. That's literally what I just explained. So, and I think this definition is pretty straightforward as well. So, next, the key concept to know vulnerabilities. What is a vulnerabilities? This is a flaw or weaknesses in a system that can be exploited. You have to find a vulnerability before you can exploit something. You can't exploit what you don't know. So exploits, piece of code or programs designed to take advantage of vulnerabilities. In one of the videos we did, yeah, exactly this one. This is an exploit. This is a piece of code that's going to exploit the vulnerability, and this happened to be an SSH exploit. So if you want to exploit an SSH, this is one for this specific version. For this specific version, SSH 6.6 less than 6.6 SFTP command execution. So this is gonna perform a command execution exploitation. We'll get into deep down later, but let's just read through this real quick and get it over with. Payloads, code executed on target system after a successful exploit. Privilege escalation, gaining higher level permissions on a system. I think these are pretty straightforward. The exploits, you send an exploit to a system and it is executed as a payload. That's the definition, but this is pretty straightforward as well. Privilege escalation. Sometimes when you hack into a system or let's say a network, you might have a basic user privilege, not so much permission. Remember when I tried to use Kali Linux, that it says I don't have enough permission. So yeah, that's kind of the situation. You need to escalate your privilege into something higher. Next, tools for exploitation. One of the most widely used frameworks for exploitation is Metasploit. Metasploit is a powerful and flexible tool that provides a comprehensive suite of exploit modules and payloads. Common exploitation tools and techniques. Metasploit framework. Description: an open source framework used for developing, testing, and executing exploit. Let's show you what Metasploit looks like. So if you go to your disk and just type in MSF console and click enter, this is where you can exploit stuff. It's going to load for a minute. So next is exploit DB. That this is where we are. Exploit for known vulnerabilities. You can find thousands of exploits here that you can use to attack any system if it's available. This is 2018. There is more up to date one than 2024. There's a lot of vulnerabilities. So this is an old one. Next, Let's go through the definition. A comprehensive database of publicly available exploit and proof of concept code. Yeah, that's what I just said. Use exploit DB to find exploits for specific vulnerabilities and versions. Straightforward. Social engineering. I think every one of us does this one point or the other. Description: manipulating people into divulging confidential information or performing actions. Techniques like phishing can be used to exploit human weaknesses. And in the nearest future, in a couple next videos we're going to learn about phishing. Phishing is pretty, yeah, we're going to learn more about that. Privilege escalation techniques, methods to gain higher permissions on a compromised system. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Usage: exploit misconfigurations of vulnerabilities to gain root or administrative access. Yeah, this is the MFSF console. This is Metasploit. Um, just load. What exploit should I look for anyway? There is no specific exploit to look for right now, but this is what your screen would look like if you're in the MSF console. What to know? There is 2,408 exploits available. Amazing. And 1,465 payloads also. No worries, we'll learn a little bit more about this. We'll make a video on its own for MSF console and everything else. Next, practical example using Metasploit for exploitation. Let's perform a practical demonstration using the Metasploit framework to exploit a vulnerable service. We will use the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine as our target. Steps: identify vulnerable services. Use scanning tools to identify services and potential vulnerabilities. So this step is on using Nmap. We'll make a whole video for the Metasploit later to show you actually how to exploit systems. Now it's going to be too long of a video for this one because I've been talking and talking. So let's keep going quickly. Select and configure an exploit. Description: choose an exploit module that matches the identified vulnerability. Select an exploit for a vulnerable service such as VS I think this it looks a little bit closer to this one. So yeah, we can use this one as our example for later, but not right now. Configure the payload. Choose a payload to execute on the target after a successful exploit. Select a reverse shell payload to gain remote access. Now, reverse shell is if you send your payload to a different system, let's say a system in America. Now you need a reverse shell so you can be able to control it from your own system wherever you are in the world. Example: execute exploits. Run the exploit to gain access to the target. Launch the exploit and interact with the target. Basically, all easy and straightforward definition from here to here. Analyzing results. Access gained. Verify if access to the target system was successful. Post exploitation. Gather information and perform actions on the compromised system. That's when we start digging into the system we have attacked and start to see what we can find out, or if it's even a usable system, if it's not just a useless system we hack into. Ethical consideration. Exploitation techniques should only be used with explicit permission and in a controlled environment. The goal is to improve security and not to cause harms. Okay, we are just trying to protect the network. We are not trying to actually break the whole system down. Don't be a black hat hacker. Be good, kids. Always adhere to ethical guidelines and legal requirements when conducting penetration tests. You need a permission before you attack anybody's website. Okay, except you go on the bug bounty programs, and even there you get the permission from them automatically by filling out the forms and putting in your information, so you're getting permissions there. That's where we can actually practice whatever we have learned legally and not get in trouble. Okay, conclusion: today we explored the fascinating world of exploitation and how ethical hackers leverage vulnerabilities to test and improve security systems. These skills are essential for identifying and mitigating threats in a real world environment. Some of the things I'll be showing you might be just for example. In the real world, it's going to be slightly different. So that's why you gotta get your own style and get used to it. Because the real world is the real world, and examples are just basic examples, might just be different. Like, you know, tomorrow we'll dive into basic web application attacks, exploring common vulnerabilities like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Stay tuned for more exciting challenges. And after the 10 days challenge, we will start going through and looking at the Bob Sweat. We start taking some challenges. So I was working on this one. But no worries. After the 10 days challenge, we will start getting into more interesting stuff and go to the topics. I'll do some walkthrough video for all of this. So there is all this. You can learn SQL injection, authentication, path reversal, command injection, business logic vulnerabilities. This is kind of more interesting to me because it's not so technical. It's just basic stuff and it's easy to grasp. Information is closer, easier too. So, anyways, thanks for coming in here today. Stay safe and happy hacking.